new and prosperous nation. The year 1945 marked a pivotal moment in Korean history. After decades of oppressive colonial rule, liberation from Japan finally arrived, igniting a flame of hope and jubilation across the peninsula. But this newfound freedom was quickly overshadowed by a profound sense of heartbreak and uncertainty. The joy of liberation was tragically intertwined with the looming specter of division. As World War II drew to a close, the global order was being reshaped, and Korea, a land yearning for self-determination, found itself caught in the crosscurrents of emerging superpowers. Korea's fate, its very destiny, was being decided not by its own people, but by foreign powers. Specifically the United States and the Soviet Union. Two nations with vastly different ideologies and geopolitical ambitions. In a move that would forever alter the course of Korean history, these powers arbitrarily split the peninsula at the 38th parallel, a geographical line that bore no relation to the cultural, historical, or social realities of the Korean people. This fateful decision was made without any meaningful input or consultation from the Korean people themselves, effectively denying them the right to shape their own future. What was initially intended as a temporary and provisional division, a means of facilitating the post-war administration of the peninsula, quickly hardened into a seemingly permanent border, solidifying the separation and setting the stage for decades of conflict and division. In the north, the Soviets threw their weight behind Kim Il-sung, a young and ambitious communist leader, establishing a regime deeply aligned with Soviet ideology and interests. Meanwhile, in the south, the United States lent its support to Syngman Rhee, an staunchly anti-communist figure who established a government that mirrored the American stance against communism. The consequences of this division were devastating. Families, friends, and a people who had shared a common history, culture, and language for centuries were suddenly and brutally torn apart, their lives irrevocably altered by the arbitrary line that now bisected their homeland. The division severed all forms of communication and trade between the North and South, disrupting established economic networks and isolating communities from one another. This isolation bred suspicion, animosity, and a growing sense of otherness between the two halves of what had once been a unified nation. Cold War ideologies alien to the Korean experience were forcefully imposed upon the people, further exacerbating the divisions and fueling political polarization. This ideological battleground was imposed on a nation that simply yearned for freedom, self-determination, and the chance to rebuild after decades of colonial oppression. The artificial split, a product of Cold War politics and foreign intervention, tragically set the stage for a devastating and fratricidal conflict that would engulf the peninsula in flames. The long-cherished dream of independence and a unified Korea, a dream that had sustained the Korean people through years of hardship, soon gave way to the grim reality and the unfolding nightmare of a divided homeland, a nation fractured against its will. Korea's hard-won unity was brutally shattered, its social fabric torn asunder by the forces of ideological conflict and geopolitical maneuvering. And as the division deepened, the wounds inflicted upon the Korean people would fester, leaving scars that would endure for generations to come. The Korean Peninsula, once a unified land, was about to be and the world distant dream. Park Chung-hee's 18-year rule brought economic growth and harsh repression. Political opposition was silenced, the press censored, and the KCIA wielded unchecked power. The 1972 Yushin Constitution cemented Park's dictatorship. As prosperity grew, so did demands for democracy from students, workers, and the new middle class. Park's assassination in 1979 sparked hope, but another coup dashed those dreams. General Chun Doo-hwan seized power, plunging Korea back into authoritarian darkness. The struggle for freedom was far from over. After Park silenced, the spirit of Gwangju lived on, fueling a nationwide pro-democracy movement in the 1980s. Students, workers, and the middle class demanded reform, facing tear gas and arrests. In 1987, the deaths of student activists sparked massive protests. The June democracy movement brought millions to the streets. Under pressure, the regime conceded, direct presidential elections and civil liberties were restored. South Korea held its first democratic election in 16 years. The era of military rule ended and democracy finally took root. The long struggle proved that economic growth and political freedom could coexist. With democracy secured, South Korea unleashed its creative and technological potential. Companies like Samsung and Hyundai became global leaders in electronics and innovation. The nation's digital revolution transformed daily life and fueled economic growth. At the same time, the Korean wave, K-pop, film and TV, captivated the world. Cultural exports like BTS and Parasite made Korea a global trendsetter. South Korea's soft power now rivals its economic might. From technology to pop culture, the nation became a symbol of modernity and creativity. In just decades, Korea rose from war-torn poverty to global influence. Despite its achievements, South Korea's story remains unfinished. The peninsula is still divided by the DMZ, with North Korea isolated and repressive. The Korean War never officially ended. Tensions and threats persist. Periods of hope and dialogue alternate with provocation and fear. The gap between North and South has only widened over decades. The dream of reunification endures, but the path is daunting. Korea's journey is one of resilience and transformation. Its final chapter awaits the resolution of the peninsula's deepest wound.